wire were. Salford seemed able to score at will, but yeah, unfortunately nobody got in touch with this. The wire fans went very, very quiet after this one.
Did you like any of the tries that were scored? It all just seemed pretty systematic from Salford.
Yeah, I have to say I thought they kind of they took the lead early, didn't they, and never really let up. And yeah, it was certainly done by half time. Just for the comedy value, I quite like Joey Lussick's try. I would like that when the posts make more of an effort than the rest of the defence. But yeah, no, it was absolutely comprehensive and a bit of the kind of left field game you usually get on a Monday, not on a Friday. So I don't quite know where Warrington were on this one. Maybe I'm doing Salford a disservice. Maybe they just didn't give them a chance. But it wasn't. It certainly wasn't predicted beforehand, was it?
No, definitely not. And I don't think many Salford fans would have expected to go and win, and certainly go and win in emphatic style. It's this lack of errors that they made. I think they were just able to make the best of everything they got because they didn't make mistakes. And then that pushed Warrington to a position where they're chasing the game, and whilst they have all the talent to do that, if you're chasing, sometimes it puts those balls a yard behind where they need to be, or forces an offloading contact that you're not quite going to make. And credit Salford. Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about the final game of Friday then. The best attended game as well. 22,050 turned up. James Child was the man who controlled this one, and I did an okay job, I thought. But actually, I meant to mention who did the Castleford game. It was Chris Kendall, weren't it?
It was Kendall, yes.
I thought he did really well in that game. But anyway, I meant to mention that before. I thought he had a good game. I thought he kind of implemented some of the things that they've already said about, ball players' responsibility to keep hold of the ball and not walk into people to play it off them.
Not take the piss,
yeah. Anyway, where were we at? We were at the Good Friday Derby, the big match.
We were.
And I've lost my place. We saw St Helens lead 18-10 at half-time after a Wigan try on the hooter. Probably gave an unrealistic bent to that scoreline. The full-time scoreline was more realistic of the visitors' dominance, 36 points to 10 for Saints. Stats underline Saints' dominance in this game. 553 more metres were made at 1.5 metres per carry better average gain. They made 13 breaks to Wigan's 4. They also had a better team tackle success rate and conceded 4 fewer penalties. Wigan had the dreaded combo of under 1,000 metres and less than 90% team tackle success rate. Individually, we could have gone on almost to 17 in the Saints' favour, but we only pick out 4. So Tommy Makinson with 1 try, 214 metres and 2 clean breaks. Regan Grace with his 3 tries, in particular his last one, which he definitely scored for himself. What a play that was. 6 tackle bus, 146 metres and 2 clean breaks. Alex Walmsley, 171 metres, and Luke Thompson, 1 try assist, 6 tackle bus, 160 metres, 3 clean breaks, and he was really punishing in this game. Morgan Smithy's 46 tackles, had to work hard, the young 18-year-old, and Oliver Gildart, 1 try assist, 9 tackle bus, 119 metres and 2 clean breaks.
Yeah, so Paul Chamberlain got in touch on this one, said panned out as expected. Wigan were game, but Saints always had too much. Chipping away at your first team is always going to have an impact sooner or later. Felt sorry for Davies and also Shorrocks, who never can seem to catch a break at first team level. Good crowd as well.
Mark Butler says, I don't want to be provocative after so much excellent podcast content, honestly, but someone let me know when Regan Grace gets good, because I can't wait to see what happens then. That's a good one. What I would say is Regan Grace is still not the finished article, but tries like his third try show and the try last week as well, what we talked about, and I sort of compared him a little bit to Martin Afire in ways. Just show exactly the talent that this guy's got. When he gets more consistent, then is going to take his place as one of the best wingers in the competition. Whereas at the moment he is behind that group, but is probably one of those wingers who has the best moments, if you know what I mean. But anyway,
he has the
qualification there, Mark.
Yeah, it's a fair point because if you were to put together a highlight reel, he would certainly he'd certainly fill that. But you're right in the sense that he needs to work on certain areas of his game, like on exit sets and things like that. But that's something, I guess, that kind of that can come. It's difficult.
He's only, what, 22?
Yeah, because was this the 2-year anniversary of his debut? I think, was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
He's still a youngster in that sense, but we'll he can build into those things, and yeah, he can create a highlight for you. Since then, David says Saints' form and Wigan's injury woe was cause for much pre-game optimism, and it wasn't misplaced, as the Red V silenced the other noisy neighbours with a clinical display. The Saints' front row, with Coote and Lomax buzzing around them, delivered 6 nice tries. Grace's third a highlight. The foundation, though, was unyielding defence, illustrated by Smith and Lee's tackling at the death. Bring on the cod heads, onwards.
POB 1976 said, Saints just too good for Wigan. I don't need to talk about this game. He summed it up perfectly, I would say.
Jen, we definitely need to talk about it. Jen says, it was a great sunny day out of the DW, let down by a second half. Injuries and stopping mistakes hard to watch. I thought Hardaker made the most effort of any of our players. Nagama for Saints was outstanding and a real threat. For Wigan, we just need to stay positive and hope things turn a corner soon.
And then Fatboy Rob, who, unlike Paul, doesn't summarise this in any helpful way whatsoever, says, champs beat cheats again. Look, if we're talking star players, you could single out almost every one of the players in that filthy, dirty, horrible Red V, couldn't you really? If I was just picking out a few of the superstars in that performance, then the 2 starting props, they were way too much for Wigan to handle, to be honest, pretty much throughout. And that set a great platform for both Johnny Lomax and Lachlan Coote to pull the strings, and they were great. I mean, both wingers, as I mentioned, we pulled them out in the stats roundup in particular. And the third try for Grace was great. The try at the start of the second half for Makinson was really important because it gave that cushion that made the scoreline look more realistic for the balance of play.
Yes.
So
Cause you've got to say that. I mean, I do want to say, I thought it might have been slightly unrepresentative score, but I thought Wigan took. It was a poor kick from Saints, a bit of a aimless up and under. But I thought actually. It was almost your best moment of the game, the way that you finished that off, and Williams getting over. That was an unfair score for a neutral. Yeah, but yeah, it was a good try, and there's an element of hope there. But it seems like all your hope is placed in him at the moment, quite frankly.
Well, Williams,
certainly down that side.
Gildart, the golden edge, yeah. A bit of Greenwood and Burgess to go.
Gildart, very good again.
Yeah. I don't want to sound like I'm not saying enough about this game. It's hard for me to say much more than just the better team won. Every player in that Saints lineup played 8 or 9 out of 10, whereas every player in the Wigan lineup played 6 or 7 out of 10. There was no terrible performance, I don't think, from Wigan. They just were a side that weren't good enough, and particularly that second half, we lacked energy massively. But I am a little bit worried that Wigan are apparently no longer the fittest team in the competition, and maybe St Helens are, because that will come home to roost when we get to August and October when the big games are played. But more to the point, this was just the dominance through the middle. They dominated in attack and defence. When they had the ball, they were finding space and turning us backwards. When we had the ball, they were getting into our faces and pushing us backwards. They were just way better. So sometimes it goes this way. We've won derbies by 20 odd points, and in the past as well. Sometimes it goes this way. It does, and it's just a shame. But it didn't ruin the day. I had a nice day before and after, and Wigan Town's always nice when it's full of Wigan Saints fans all pretty much getting on. To be honest, I quite enjoy it. I would. Tom Davies' injury was absolute shocker, and
yeah, it's horrible.
I hope Saints fans reevaluate their cheering, should we say, because whilst I have absolutely no objection with them cheering when the big hit went in, they cheered a second time when the player didn't get up, and maybe they might want to pause for thought on those second cheers, because this was a horrific injury that meant the player didn't get up, and it probably wasn't the hit that caused the injury, it was probably the landing. Obviously the hit played a part in it, but it was horrible, and I really do feel for the kid and hope he manages to bounce back. I guess there's a slim hope, given that he's only young, he's only 20, 21. He could recover fast. You never know, he might get a chance before the end of the season potentially to show his wares, but it's unlikely. I mean, when they first came out with a 3-month prognosis, I was like, you're kidding me, aren't you? He absolutely, anyway, we won't talk more detail about that injury, but that was a horror show. The incident at the end of the game that saw Dom Peru get sin-binned, similar in many ways to the incident in the London game, in that it wasn't a late tackle, this one, but it certainly looked higher than it was, because it was very forceful, very nasty looking. I mean, it was the point of the elbow that he stuck out forcefully into the player who'd effectively stepped him. Now, what was the worst that was going to happen is the next player would have stopped him, because Wigan weren't going to make a break at that stage of that game. It did look horrible from the stands, and it did look high from the stands because of the way Jake Shurrock's neck flung back. But as soon as we saw the replay in the stadium, I was trying to tell the very vitriolic crowd around me, people around me, that I don't actually think he hit him in the head. I think just the pace of the contact and the nature of the contact on the chest was what forced the injury. So I certainly think it was a nasty tackle. There was no attempt to properly tackle him, but it wasn't in the head, but it did cause an injury. So sin-bin, no further action. Probably right again. Doesn't mean they didn't look nasty, certainly at the time. So again, I can understand why Wigan fans' in the emotional reaction was, string the guy up. This is horrible. But
we've all said things we regret in the ground, haven't we? But yeah.
No, exactly. And to be honest, there's a lot of Wigan fans who'll still think it was that bad, but because it was nasty. It was an elbow flying out into towards a player's head, but luckily he didn't catch him in the head. The whiplash situation caused the concussion, but thankfully he was able to recover them from that, Jake Shorrocks, and play on Monday. But if it had caught him in the head, we're talking broken stuff, We're talking broken bones in the face, broken jaws, broken chins, broken face, broken noses, what have you. So it was lucky that he caught him in the chest, I think, rather than the head, because he didn't have any control over where that elbow was going. He was reacting to a player stepping him. It was nasty stuff, but punished kind of within the guidelines of the rules, I think. And I don't want to finish this on that. I do want to finish it on the moment that kind of emphasised the difference between the sides. Jen said Hardacre wasn't a bad performer in this game, and he wasn't a bad performer in this game. He probably was at fault for a couple of the tries where, if he'd have been perfectly on song, he would have stopped those. He did stop the Luke Thompson one, which was a fantastic saving tackle. And Wigan did put in some great saving defensive efforts in this game, but just not in the middle of the pitch where the breaks were happening. But there was a Roby try where he took great leverage on Hardacre, and no one else was with Hardacre to support him there. That was a shame. But the moment that emphasised the game for me was Lachlan Coote's try, partly because Lachlan Coote was fantastic in this game and has been fantastic for St Helens so far, and this was maybe the standout moment for him in a Saints shirt so far, because it was the moment that elevated him, I feel. But he just wanted that ball a little bit more in the air than what Zach Hardacre wanted it, and absolutely deserved the score. And it just showed that whilst Wigan were putting an effort in, it was a tired effort and an effort that lacked something, whereas what Saints were doing didn't lack anything at all. And Lachlan Coote, in that moment, out jumping Zach Hardacre for that score, emphasised it, I feel. So, well done to him.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the score is a reflection of where these two teams are at the moment. So yeah, unfortunately, no surprise for the home fans.